I think for me, like the very first time I experienced it, I didn't know what to do, and it just kind of spiraled and got worse and worse. And
Let's see if they open. What's up, bro?
What's going on?
How you doing?
Good.
What's up, Noah?
You say hi?
That's my
There you
boy.
go.
Let's go. Where's Bobby?
She's just in the kitchen.
here,
You making green juice?
yep, this kid's favorite over here.
That's what's up.
He asked for it in the middle of the night.
Oh.
Right, Noah?
Yeah. That's awesome. Where's the baby at? Let's go check on the baby real quick.
She's sleeping. Let's go check her.
Guys, they literally just had a baby, and she is Fabi had the baby. Eric did the easy
Hey, I
part.
did all the hard work.
Yeah.
But she is literally adorable. I'm about to show her to you guys. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's probably
I'm gonna turn off the light.
Oh.
I should be a dad again, low key.
It's not as glamorous as it looks.
All right, guys. Well, we're gonna get set up so we can start the interview. But we'll see you guys here in 1 second, literally. All right, guys. Welcome back, man. I'm so happy you guys tuned in to my Be Real series, which is essentially just a podcast where I get to talk to real people with real stories about real life issues that we face constantly every day. So I have a good friend with me today. You guys met her a little bit in her little family, Fabi. And she actually wanted to talk about something that I think all of us deal with, and that is anxiety. So I'm just gonna start the conversation off, and hopefully you guys enjoy, and hopefully it helps you guys out. So when did everything kind of like really happen? Like, or did you start noticing that it started like affecting you?
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like it's not maybe a specific moment. Obviously, I think ever since I was younger, I probably looking back now, I can see that that's what it was.
Yeah.
But even probably the moment when I noticed it the most was a little bit after I got married.
Yeah.
And I think, well, really, I had no idea that's what it was. Like, there was just things kind of happening. They got out of control. I guess like emotions got out of control, and I didn't realize that's what it was. But so we got married, and I think there was a lot of change, which I think for most people is what triggers either anxiety or
Like
depression.
transitioning kind of thing?
Yeah.
That
And I
makes sense.
think just learning about it, because I mean I went to school for that, and it's even you
That's
would
trippy.
think like oh, you went to school for all this, like you should be
should
able
be
to like
okay.
see it, yeah, or like
Yeah.
you should be able to like notice when it happens, or be
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm having an anxiety attack, but like you don't, like when you're in
Yeah.
the moment, it's almost like you have no idea what's happening to you, like things are just kind of out of control. So yeah, I think like one of the things that we learned about was that it kind of gets triggered at those crucial times in your life where you're having to make decisions, like big decisions, like especially in people's 20s, like in their 20s, that's kind of when it'll happen, and that's literally when it happened to me. Like
I could see that.
yeah, so I got married. I was turning 22, like just a couple of days after we got married. So literally right in my 20s.
Yeah, like
And
as
then-
soon as you started 20s.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
hold on, before we go into that
Yeah.
that part, you said that you noticed later on you were able to recognize that it actually was affecting you as when you were younger.
Right.
But when you were younger, you didn't know what the heck anxiety is.
Right,
Like
right.
you can't stamp a label on it when you're.
Right.
So
Yeah.
around what age, like looking back on it now, around what age did you start seeing it, and why do you think the cause was?
I mean, if I'm getting like into the stuff that I know about like mental health, like from what I studied, I would say it's probably just having to do with like family, like unresolved family things that I've had from
Yeah.
growing up. You know what I mean? There's like probably nothing too crazy, but I mean, we all interpret things differently. Like
Yeah.
we might, like just certain situations in our life like happen, and that might turn into something else for one person and something else for another. So
Yeah.
it might have just been like things that I experienced growing up, like as a kid.
Yeah.
And I noticed that, like, looking back, I think probably just in my teen years, like the way I reacted to certain conflict,
Yeah.
like in high school mostly, like, which is like a really hard time for a lot of people.
Because you're like trying to fit in,
Yeah.
and then at the same time figure out what you're gonna do with your life.
Yeah.
Even though it's like.
and you really don't know much
Exactly.
of anything.
Yeah.
And you're like having to also make big decisions, probably in that time too, but you don't have the information to make those big decisions. And
Yeah.
all you're left is with like these experiences that you've had growing up, but you don't really know what to do with them or like how they affected you, and you're just kind of reacting like
Yeah.
and kind of lost at the same time.
So you
But-
think for you personally, when you were younger, it was triggered by unresolved family issues, whether big or
Yeah.
small?
Yeah, probably from when I was like pretty little. Like I grew up with, well, I guess my parents got married. My mom got remarried when I was 5, and I probably from the time that I was born till 5, like I was mostly just raised by my mom, and I can see how. Just being a mom now, I also know that like we project a lot of our things on our kids, and it's really hard not to. But now I can see how my mom may have projected some of her stuff on me, and it was not in any way trying to be harmful. Obviously,
Yeah, not
like
in
she
bad
was doing
intentions,
right,
yeah.
exactly. But I think like maybe it was a time for her where she was very scared and like to not have a partner and do the whole parenting thing.
Yeah.
And she just had a really hard time. And I think I just grew up kind of like really scared of things, like being very cautious and like always wanting to be.
You sound like
careful.
my mom.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. I mean, I'm a mom now, I guess. But,
My mom's like, if it starts sprinkling, like,
yeah.
she's just like calling me like crazy, and
Yeah.
I'm like, Mom, chill.
Yeah.
You know, like over anything and I could have the fan on, and then I go to sleep, and she's like, did you turn the fan off? Because what if something happens with the fan and the fan falls? And I'm like, good Lord, what just happened? This turned like from real life to like Final Destination.
Yeah. And I mean, I can say I'm not exactly like her.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, we
Yeah.
take on a different personality and like things like that. But I can see how that maybe made me a really cautious person. And maybe not as much in my teen years, because you still have that like part of you that's like adventurous, and you're not that scared of things. And sometimes I wish I could go back to those times now, to where like I wasn't as cautious as I am now.
Yeah.
And I can see that even that I was cautious then, but it was still like life was a little bit more, I don't know what's the word is, like I was just more careless at that time, and it was more enjoyable, I guess. You had more fun. Like things are just too serious now sometimes in my life, and I have to take a step back and just not take things as seriously, because it does affect me, and I have to, just like let things go. That's kind of one of the places where it affects me the most, because I have to take the time to just be more open to not having control of things sometimes, or and not in like a crazy way, but like it's almost like so I'll give an example, I guess. One of the things that I think I struggle with the most with my anxiety is health. And I don't even know if that's like a thing like called health anxiety, because honestly, like anxiety can interpret itself in so many ways for people. Like you can have anxiety, but so many things can trigger it. So like, and it's just so different for everybody. But for me, one of the biggest things is health, and anything that has to do with my health, sometimes I just really struggle with it. Like it's like even having just had a baby, like it happened to me the first time, and it didn't get better the second time, because I had to have a C-section with both of them.
Yeah.
And the first time, kind of after the baby, just every little thing freaked me out, like about the post-surgery stuff. Like they were like, okay, so this is gonna go this way, like, or you're supposed to be healing in, for example, in this amount of time, like you're gonna feel better in like 3 weeks. And if I wasn't feeling better in exactly 3 weeks, I was like, okay, something's wrong. Like, I was like, something's wrong. Like, like I need to go to the hospital. Like, I'm not okay. Like, and like with having a surgery, like it just, to me, like surgeries are like a big deal, I guess. Like, especially a C-section. I was like, okay, so the second time is gonna be better. Like I should know, and it's still kind of, it is a little bit better, but this time around, but it's still always there. And I think like that's kind of the thing about like mental health. Like you can get kind of some control of it and be able to like be better and function and do well. Like I've always said that I'm like a high functioning, like I have high functioning anxiety or whatever, because I can do most things in my life, but like it never really goes away. Like it's always there. Like it's always that in the back of your mind. Like you always struggle with it in a sense. And it just makes like life a little bit harder. Like you know what I mean? Like the daily things, like you have to be like have a like always try to be open, always be working through it kind of in the back of your mind.
Always processing things.
Yeah. So it just like, I mean, that's just what it is.
That's so trippy because like it's hard for me to imagine, because not saying that I don't have anxiety ever, because I know I do. Yeah. Maybe I just can't pinpoint it. Yeah. But it's not that I'm a careless person. This is what I tell people all the time. Like whenever I went skydiving and my mom hated it, or I love going bungee jumping. I love doing things that are like adrenaline filled, you know, like even when I was like fighting back in the day, and my mom was just like, do you not love life? You know what I mean? Because she struggles with anxiety big time. So I wasn't helping her. Yeah. But my thing was always just like, well, I know I have a purpose, so I'm not going to die. Yeah. And that was literally my thing for everything. So I'm like, I could literally probably go swim with sharks. And even if I got bit, I'm like, I would probably be able to use that for my purpose. I'm like, but I still have a purpose, so I'm not going to die. Yeah. So it's like, it's so hard for me to like be able to relate with that. But I can't imagine like just going almost every day, especially now with 2 kids. I can't imagine that it's like gotten easier.
It's hard. It's harder actually. Yeah. So, I mean, like you were saying, like the whole having a purpose, like I'm a religious person, I'm a spiritual person. Yeah. And like, I know I have a purpose, but that's the whole thing about anxiety, that like, it's almost like
just fogs all of your
mind. Like you don't really, you can think it through. You can like tell yourself over and over, like I don't like flying at all. And like, I don't like roller coasters. Like that's just too much for me. Like I would never go bungee jumping. And it's almost like,
would you let Eric go with me though?
I would, but like, I would like probably just, yes, I don't know. I could probably would not even be able to be in the same area. I'd be like, okay, I'm just going to, I think you guys, we went to the fair, like not even big crazy roller coasters, but they were just down here in Wiley. Mm-hmm. And when you guys went on the roller coaster, I don't even know what it was. It was
the thing that went like all around completely.
Yes, no, I had to leave. So I did leave. I had Noah in the stroller and I was pregnant. And I'm like, if that thing like spins out of control, like I just don't want to be here to watch. I was like, I'm going to go to the other side. But yeah, that was probably one example of it. Like it's different. Like I could tell myself, like, okay, that's probably not going to happen. Like, it's very unlikely that something bad will happen with either my health or the roller coaster or whatever. But, like I've always told Eric that it's almost like 2 separate things. Like, your mind and, like, your reaction to it. Like, because I literally sometimes have, like, physical reactions to it, which is weird. Because, like, you can make, like, what is it? Yeah, when we first got married, I had, that's when it first kind of started to get bad, or that I noticed that it was actually a thing in my life.
Like, I'm going to be living with a man.
Probably, like, the change, I was like, what is happening? Like, too much change, like, I don't like it. And especially because it was kind of a culture shock, like, difference for both of us. Like, like, I realized how different we were in the way Eric handled conflict because of the way he was raised and the way I handle conflict. And it's almost like that made it worse because I felt like I didn't have someone that understood conflict like I did. Or not even conflict, like maybe when something wasn't right. Mm-hmm. So I started to have like some health issues, like probably really minimal, like nothing crazy. And as soon as that started happening, like I started to freak out, and Eric was completely like calm about it. Like he thought like, okay, she's fine, like nothing's wrong. And I'm like, probably not even verbally telling
That sounds
him.
like such a man.
It is also like it's
like,
stereotypical, yeah.
Yeah, she's just got a little
Yeah.
cold.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm just like freaking out, and Eric's like, no, like probably not even reacting to the situation, just thinking like, okay, well, nothing is wrong. Like, if something is really wrong, like we would know, like she would be passing out or whatever. And in my mind, it's like, I would never let it get to that point. I would probably just freak out way before that. You know what I mean? I'd be like, okay, no, like I have a pain somewhere, like I need it, whatever. And it has gotten a lot better for me, but like, I think like just at the beginning that was one of the things that like it was just hard to process because not everyone understands it, and it's not like it was so where I was going with that is that it literally has I feel like sometimes it makes the situation worse than it really is, like the anxiety itself, because it may not have been anything, but because I was stressing so much about it, like I literally started to have other symptoms because of it, like all of a sudden I had this weird headache, and I was like, okay, like, so I have this, and now I have a headache, and now, like, I literally, like, I kid you not, a couple times I woke up with, like, my full left arm asleep. Like, I couldn't feel my arm. And I think that literally, that's just how stressed I was. Like, that, like, I was so stressed and, like, anxious about it that, like, I gave myself like symptoms, like it was crazy,
symptoms of a heart attack,
like for real. No, for real,
much.
Like your body will start like manifesting those things because of the anxiety. So the doctor was like
I didn't
probably did
I'll
that
be
to
honest,
yourself, but
I didn't know anxiety was that bad.
It is like some people
I hear people like they're like, oh yeah, I deal with anxiety. I'm like, yeah, we all do.
Yeah.
I'm like, life's
like
not easy for all of us.
Yeah.
But I didn't know it was like to that.
Well, that's probably the difference between clinical anxiety, like something that's like actually, I don't know, you've been diagnosed with it or whatever. But there's ways to bring yourself down from it. And if you think, like, going back, like now that I've had maybe something similar happen to me now, like I'm able to, you know, just like breathe, use breathing techniques, and it has never gotten that bad again, and I'm very thankful. Because even after that, a couple times I did have some anxiety attacks, and I didn't know how to handle them.
Yeah.
But,
well, I almost feel like, because when I get hit with anxiety, that's what happens. I get hit with anxiety.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, I kind of think of it like if you're fighting and then life slips one in on you, your natural reaction is, oh crap.
Yeah.
Which is anxiety and stress.
Yeah.
What you do afterwards, I think, is the difference.
Yeah.
So for me, I think a lot of the times I'm like, oh crap, and then I start breathing, and I'm like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
And I think somebody that's like clinically diagnosed with anxiety, if you don't respond correctly in that moment, that's when it starts spiraling. Does that make?
And I think that's pretty much what it is. Like what the difference is. It's like a person that doesn't know really, or can't. I wouldn't even say that doesn't know. Like that just really can't bring themselves down from that. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, I mean, it could be as simple as a breathing technique, but some people might need medication. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's like sometimes like it involves like a panic attack is, a lot of people will describe it as like having like they feel like they're having a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
If you think about it, and that's like the most common thing that happens to people when they're having a heart attack. And it's like in that moment, like I think that person literally was maybe not able to bring themselves down, because you get to that point, it's like, I don't think anybody wants to feel like they're having a heart attack.
Yeah.
So if you could do anything to stop it,
I think you would.
You would. I think you would. So it's like, I think for me, like the very first time I experienced it, I didn't know what to do, and it just kind of spiraled and got worse and worse. And I was able to open up to Eric about it. And the second time, we kind of like looked it up before I even started going to therapy the first time.
Yeah.
And we looked it up, and one of the things that they suggested was that if you had someone else with you, that the other person like ask you certain questions just to kind of like bring you back down to reality, like. Got it. And it was just sort of like,
what are those questions, just for anyone that's watching?
I think it's usually just something to do with like your surroundings. Like, can you name 3 things that you feel, 3 things that you smell, 3 things that you, and I think it's actually more like, it's like 5 like you count down from 5. It's like 5 things that you can see, 4 that you can smell, 3 that you can touch.
Yeah. So
And
it's just taking your attention off of that.
It is,
thing.
and it's kind of just like a grounding experience, like
Okay.
kind of for you to just like realize this is the real world, like not in here.
Yeah.
Like you're here and you're alive and you're
Yeah.
okay and you're
Wow.
not like, you know what I mean? And that's really hard to do. It's easier when you have someone there with you.
Yeah.
Like the times that maybe I haven't had someone with me, and there's been a couple times where like Eric is there with me, or like he's sleeping and it happens at night for me or something. Like I'm just kind of there by myself and stuff, and I guess I could ask her for help, but sometimes it's really hard.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hardest part sometimes for people, that you have loved ones around you that could
Love
help
you
you, that
and
want to
love
help
you.
you, but
Yeah.
it's so hard to just come to someone that maybe doesn't, you there's fear of like someone not understanding you, not really like seeing it for what it is, or, and truth is like half the time people can't really do anything for you, but just knowing that other people know you're dealing with it, it just helps, you know what I
That
mean?
is why I do this.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, somebody asked me that today. They were like, what made you want to start making, like that Be Real series? I'm like, because I think that we all deal with things, and I think we all feel like we're the only ones dealing with it.
Yeah.
So just knowing that somebody else is walking through it is encouraging enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Knowing like, wow, I'm not alone in it.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't have to just be to
Yeah.
myself all the
Yeah.
time, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, and it's true. And I mean, there's so many things out there like that people deal with, and
Yeah.
a lot of the times like it could be a really simple
Yeah.
like solution to it,
Mhm.
or just a step towards a solution.
Yeah.
But if people don't talk about it, like you'll never really know, like nobody.
Exactly.
And I think that's what it is about anxiety, that sometimes it's not even this really big thing that happened to you and like you can't ever solve it, or you just have to deal with it for the rest of your
Yeah.
life. Like sometimes it's as simple as kind of like digging deep into who you are,
Yeah.
like what may have
did
triggered
your
you.
dad leave you when you were little, or
Well, yes and no, I guess. My mom, when my mom was pregnant with me, my dad was kind of like instantly out of the picture. Like he just
he just dipped?
kind of just wasn't.
So he left
his
you before you were
thing.
even born.
Yeah, so I
okay.
was never. I mean, I never met the guy or anything. But I think like in every way, I mean, every experience that you've had in your life, whether you just know about it or you actually remember it, like
It
I
does
don't
affect
remember
you.
that. It does affect you. I feel like
it
in a way,
does.
it just does. Like,
Yeah.
like
It's like scientifically
Yeah.
proven.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and because, even just my mom told me about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like I never saw a picture of him. Like my mom
Yeah.
never really talks about him. I don't even know his name. And it's funny because, I've told Eric before. I've told Eric the whole thing. He knows about it. And just the other day, he asked me. He was like, "Do you know his name?" And I was like, "I don't. Like, I don't even
You
know
hadn't
the
even thought-
name
you
of."
hadn't-
Yeah, I've never
yeah.
thought about it because that's like, maybe it's culture, and like in the Hispanic culture, we really don't like if it's something really that touchy. Like, I feel like
You really don't talk
really
about
don't
it.
talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's how you deal with it. You don't deal with it.
yeah.
and
I
then it's
feel
gone.
like- yeah. Yeah.
But it's really not.
It's not. And I feel like when I have brought it up to my mom, it was like very cautious. Like it was so hard to even mention it. It was like, so
She's gonna pull out the
do
chancla.
you know? Yeah. Like, do you remember?
Yeah.
Like what? Like, you know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
just like really hard for me to approach it. And I think it may have been 3 different times ever that we've talked about it, and she would tell me little bits and pieces. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But then I realized I never even asked the name, and it probably wasn't that she doesn't want to tell me or anything, but that just shows like how little I really do know about the situation.
Yeah.
So I think that it's almost worse to just kind of not know, because I heard something the other day.
Yeah.
What did they say? Like, I don't even remember, but it's like almost like it's worse for you to make up like the story
Yeah.
of what really happened than just ask.
My pastor used to say, without communication, there's vain imagination. In
Yeah.
other words,
Yeah.
if you never communicate and like get things across with each other or
Yeah.
figure things out, then you're just gonna make it all up in your head.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
that just leads you through like a bad place. So, do you think that maybe like if you had full disclosure on everything with your dad, maybe even possibly talk to him and we're
Yeah.
like, hey bro, like why'd you dip? Like it's kind of
Yeah.
messed up.
Yeah.
Do you think that would almost maybe help the root issue of anxiety?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I think really where the issue for me may come from, not to like put blame on absolutely anybody,
no,
because
yeah.
what I think is like people do what they have to do to survive. And like I said, I think my mom probably had a
Yeah.
really hard time, like
Yeah.
just being a single parent, and like even just she probably was mourning that relationship that she thought she had with someone, and
Yeah.
that person left, and then on top of that you're left with kind of
A
this
huge
responsibility, like huge
Yeah,
one. And
you
not
are-
to say that my mom didn't love me, like I know she loved me
Yeah.
a lot, and that pretty much everything she did from that point on was for me.
Yeah.
But not to say that it was her fault at all, but that because of that situation, that's what came. Like I feel like that's kind of, I grew up with that like
Yeah.
fear of things.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like I would maybe feel better if there was communication about that, like
Yeah.
between me and my mom, maybe
Yeah.
like
At least
about-
just communication.
yeah, maybe I just
Yeah.
maybe, and that's the thing, maybe I'm making that up. Maybe she wasn't even like that, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But like that's it. I feel like
But you'll never know until you talk
right,
about it.
and I'm like
Yeah.
maybe I'm just making that up in my head. But even if I'm making it up in my head, that could be the reason. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like maybe in my mind I just think like
Yeah.
my mom was this way, and like this is why I'm this way. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like maybe
Yeah.
just to justify. Who knows? But really, like if there's no communication, you can't ever know.
Yeah.
And just clarity in general, I feel like helps with
Yeah.
it. You know
with
what I mean?
anything.
Yeah.
So, what would be, just to finish off, because you've given just a lot of insight on what it's like to live in it.
Yeah.
But I think that you have been able to find ways to like overcome it daily.
Yeah.
And not saying that you're perfect at it, obviously, because we all struggle with our struggles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what would be like top 3 things that you could tell somebody that's watching that's dealing with the same thing? Like, hey, when I do this, this really tends to help, like getting ahead of it, or when I'm in the middle of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, definitely having someone in your corner. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like I didn't really. I wasn't able to really open up to like my family very much about it, and I think I did find that after I got married and kind of experiencing all those things, that I had to tell Eric about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I had to talk to him about it. So I had to have someone there that I knew I could trust. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? To talk about it. You just have to be able to talk about it. And if it's not a person, maybe you have a blog or something. You know what I mean? Like you just
to
talk
get
about
it
it.
out. Yeah.
You just need to be able to say it. I think it's what's helped me.
Low key, you should start a vlog.
Yeah. I guess, yeah. But I think it's that, and I think it's like therapy, really. Like
Mhm.
I feel like people say that when you go to therapy, like it's hard work, but it's really what's gonna like set you free, type of thing. Like because you have to dig deep. Like you really have to kind of face your
Yeah.
fears, kind
I
of
mean-
whatever it is.
I mean, you either put in the hard work now, or you work hard to be happy for the rest of your
Yeah.
life. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
And it's still something that probably will always be there, but like that's the other thing, like that's the second thing I would have said, that you really just have to figure out the root of it. Like
yeah, that's good.
it comes from somewhere. Like
Yeah.
that's what I think I've realized. Like it has to come from somewhere. We don't just like I don't feel like I have anxiety for no reason. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think it's everybody, whatever it is that you're struggling with, I think it's for a reason. Like
Yeah.
anxiety, depression, and I guess that would be the second thing. And I don't know. I think like trying to really let go of things when you can't control them. Like
yeah.
if there really is something, like, I think being able to differentiate between the things that you can control and that you can't. And it's not easy, but I think it puts life a little bit into perspective.
I will tell you that helps out anybody.
Right, yeah.
Is like, especially when it involves another person, it's
Right.
like you can't control the decisions they're gonna make. So really all you can do, like you said, is what can I do? Because I'm responsible for me at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And just do that.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, you're responsible for your happiness, like whatever it is that I think especially for me with anxiety, like it affects other people, but I feel like other people affect you, like sometimes
More than,
like I feel like there's something that bugs me because of that I can't control. Like maybe, I don't know, I really don't.
like
don't have
Eric
the best
leaves,
example.
like Eric leaves
something.
his socks on the ground.
Oh yeah.
And it just drives you insane.
That's it. Yes,
Yeah.
that whenever that happens, my anxiety's through the roof usually. But if just realizing that, I mean, you can't control it, and it's not the end of the world. And I mean, easier said than done. In the moment, it's like hard to like think that way. But like trying to reframe your thinking. Yeah. Like sometimes it's just hard work, but it takes like what is it, like a muscle memory type thing?
Yeah.
Like, the more you do it, the easier it gets, and like.
Well, I bet like at first it seemed like this thing was huge and taking over your life, and now it's like you're not that big anymore. You used to be a huge pit bull, now you're a chihuahua. Yeah. You know what I mean? Sometimes you still bite my ankle, but you're still a chihuahua. You know what I mean? Yeah. So what would you say for people like me and Eric who know somebody that is dealing with it? Because like, what can we do? Yeah. Just practically, just because I know that I could probably help my mom's life a lot. Yeah. Simply by not bungee jumping anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing. People are still gonna bungee jump. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they're still, like I have a boy and I have a girl, and
your boy's crazy.
He's crazy. He's kind of fearless, and he teaches me every day to be fearless. But I know that there's gonna come a time where like there's things that are really gonna scare me that he does. But as far as being someone that supports someone else, I think. I really don't think, maybe this is me realizing it might be true, maybe not, but like people really can't do a ton for you. Wow. But listen, like you have to be able to find a way to cope yourself. Yeah. But like I said, having someone in your corner is important, just to listen. Yeah. And maybe not, they might not even understand you. They might not even ever really understand what you're going through, because it's like hard to know unless you experience it, or just hard to even imagine how that would work. But I mean, just listening. And if it's something like kind of like how Eric looked, because actually the time that I was having that panic attack, he looked it up, like how to help someone with anxiety, like during anxiety attack, and he kind of read that and helped me through it that way. And I think it's just kind of like if you really care about them and they're going through something, kind of just show up for them.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. Hopefully it encouraged you guys at least just a little bit. Like y'all heard on the video, my passion is just that people would know that they're not walking through it alone, and hopefully this conversation encouraged you just a little bit more today. If you liked the video, hit that like button, share it with somebody that you think would want to hear it, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. That way you don't miss any of the upcoming videos.